How do I know when I'm enough? How do I know when I've got to that point in life where I can say, I've made it, I'm good enough, I'm completely satisfied? What makes us enough? Is it how hard I work for myself? Or am I enough simply because I tell myself that I'm enough? As I think about this question, my head instantly goes to Tay Tay, Taylor Swift, the Queen of Pop herself and crazy cat lady. In the documentary about her life and career, Miss Americana, it shows us an interesting insight into Taylor's life. And we can see in that documentary that Taylor strives to make herself enough. She's the definition of hard work and endeavour, and she's recognised across the world. She's received over 10 Grammys and sells out concerts wherever she's go. She's passionate about her work and her career and her music. But we see in that documentary that whatever Taylor does, she doesn't feel good enough. Whether that's not getting nominated for a Grammy, or when she's consumed with self-doubt when Kanye famously interrupts her at the VMAs. She's constantly striving to be better, to be who producers or fans perceive her to be, or trying to make herself the best. In a chilling part of the documentary Miss Americana, where Taylor receives an Emmy, one of the most exciting moments that she would probably have in her music career, after the awards ceremony, she's left not knowing who to call and feeling a bit empty. Even when Taylor has achieved it all, she doesn't feel like enough. She says this quote in her documentary, "When you're living for the approval of strangers, and that is where you derive all of your joy and fulfillment, one bad thing can cause everything to crumble." We see that striving like Taylor doesn't always make us feel good enough, that we're satisfied or content in that. But where else can we look to find our worth and purpose? We can surely rely on ourselves to tell us that we're enough, our own self-worth. I am enough because I say that I'm good enough. We find our identity in this way. We speak truths onto ourselves to make us feel better, more significant, and more valuable. But actually, we sometimes need the approval of others, the applause of other people to help define our own self-worth. This feeds into social media reliance, a reliance on Instagram or Facebook. And this can sometimes lead and paint a bad picture at times. It feels like something has gone wrong when we measure our identities in this way. What happens when these things disappear? When they become nothing? When we don't get those likes on that absolutely bomb Instagram that you spent ages on Fisco choosing the perfect filter? When our friends leave us or our family falls apart? When we look to ourselves, we speak truths onto our identity, but it does nothing to reassure us of ourselves when we have that bad day and we feel empty and worthless. Reflecting on these things of what makes us enough can paint a pretty bleak picture. A picture of a world that is lonely, inward looking and futile. A world that we must search in ourselves or others to find our worth. Taylor Swift tells us that we need to strive and work to get what we want, but that leads to potentially emptiness when we get to the perceived top. Or actually, when we look at ourselves and we have that bad day and we can't convince ourselves of our self-worth and it just falls short. The Christian story perhaps says something different to each of these worldviews. It tells us that we don't have to create our own worth. We don't have to strive or work for it, but that it's defined by something that is unchanging and constant. The Christian story tells us the story of Jesus. One of these stories is when he encounters a woman who is called a Samaritan. Samaritans were considered the outcasts by the primarily Jewish population. She starts a conversation with Jesus at a well, and they get to the point in their conversation where they talk about, you could say, her crazy love life. You can see that she's searching to be enough and for her worth in her love life and her husbands. She's had 5 husbands before this, and the man she's with now, she's not married to. And this is where we find her. We find her at the well in the middle of the day, at the hottest part of the day, by herself, outside of town, completely alone. Which shows that actually she was rejected by her community and a little bit of an outcast. But Jesus saw her, saw her 5 broken marriages, and offered her something greater. Jesus says to her, I can offer you living water, water that will allow you to never thirst again. Now, Jesus isn't offering her some mysterious water that he's going to pull from behind his back and give to her, but he's painting this woman a beautiful picture. He's telling her that the life that Jesus offers is greater than the life she's been searching to be enough for in so many different ways. He's offering her a satisfaction that is like no other and will quench her thirst for the rest of her life. It's like a spring welling up inside of her, offering her real peace, joy, and satisfaction. It's amazing. Here's a woman who has spent her life trying to be enough, would have felt like that she came short. But Jesus is allowing her satisfaction not to be what she's done, but what he can offer her. And this offer is the same one for us today. Jesus invites us into a satisfaction that is unfailing, that is genuine and real, and isn't derived from anything as feeble as ourselves or how hard we can work. What makes us enough? We're here to tell you today of your worth and invite you into the relationship that defines our purpose and our worth, a relationship that makes us well and truly enough. How will you respond to this, Jesus? Thank you.